Dendera. The ancient temple complex of Dendera. There's so much more to this place than meets the eye. According to Wikipedia, Dendera as we see it today was built in about 360 to 343 BCE. But that was not its origins. As with many of the structures throughout Egypt, it was built on earlier structures that were built on even earlier structures. The general consensus among Egyptologists is that the site may even go as far back as pre-dynastic, when it was just probably an oasis. It is believed in academic circles that the third king of the Sixth Dynasty, Pharaoh Pepi I, built the first major structure, and that was in about 2260 BCE. So that is over 4,000 years ago. It was later rebuilt or added to by the 18th dynasty, about 1500 BCE. But the Hathor temple, as it is today, was started during the Ptolemaic period of around 54 BCE, and the hypostyle hall was later completed by the Romans. There are even depictions of Cleopatra VI and the more famous Cleopatra VII on the walls. And there are some Christian features as well that were added much later. This means that the site has been occupied, built on, rebuilt on, added to, and repurposed for a period of more than 4,000 years. When you first step off your tour bus and approach the Temple of Hathor, you think to yourself, gosh, this looks like a very cute little temple. But the closer you get, the larger it becomes. Until you're standing at the entrance to the temple, looking up in awe at its size. Because of its relatively new age, it's in good condition compared to many of the others that one sees on the tours in Egypt. It is interesting how not only the structures, but even the names of these places change over time. Dendera was originally Tentira. Subtle but different. The complex is surprisingly large at about 40,000 square meters and was enclosed by a rather chunky, primitive-looking mud brick wall. To me, it just didn't seem to fit, but hey. And there's just so much to see at this location. So we'll just run through a few pictures so that you can see all the aspects there are in this complex, like the Hathor temple, the temple of the birth of Isis, the sacred lake, the sanatorium, the Mamisi of Nectanebo II, which is the oldest part that still exists at the location, the Christian basilica, the Roman Mamisi, a bark shrine, the gateways of Domitian and Trajan, and a Roman kiosk. So there's a lot to see. And nearby there's even a necropolis of mastabas, and they're ranging from the early dynastic period to the first intermediate period of Egypt. Interesting, don't you think? When you go to the temple complex of Dendera, the main focus that people want to see is just the temple, the actual temple part of Hathor, partly because of the controversial zodiac and advanced technology light bulb, but mainly because it is truly impressive and very beautiful. But there is so much more that you probably are not even aware of. But this is going to be too long an episode if I tell you everything in one go. So I'm just going to cover some specific aspects in other episodes So I'll look at one on the actual temple itself and cover all the other temple and site mysteries and the ancient tech around them. So the next episode that we're going to talk about is probably going to be the Dendera zodiac. And it's one of the 3 most mysterious aspects of this place. And obviously things that people want to see. And the other 2 are the Dendera light bulb and the famous melted stairs. So next episode, the Dendera zodiac, which is not actually there. You just get to see the place that it used to be. And you get to see a replica that's now in its place. But I'll talk about that more in the next episode. As a side note, everywhere you go, the guides will tell you, this spot had an obelisk which is now in insert various places around the world. Or worse still, they'll say, the obelisk is now under the sea in the Mediterranean or somewhere like that. Because many of these items, especially the massive obelisks, didn't actually make it to their thieves' chosen location. And maybe they weren't even thieves, maybe they had been gifted the item. I don't know, but it just seems very tragic that these items have been taken out of Egypt and somehow managed to end up in the bottom of the sea. You know, it just seems really, really sad. But as you make your way around all these amazing places on a tour, sometimes a guide might mention which museum got a particular item, or may even, quite sadly, point out half of a statue and say the other half is in, well, you can insert various museums around the world for that one. And yes, they do also mention when it was moved to an Egyptian museum as well. And sometimes there's also a bit of sadness with that because it's no longer at the site where it originated. But anyway, we'll talk about a heap more of things in the other episodes. In the meantime, I will catch you for part 2 for more information on this fabulous location, the Dendera Temple Complex.